And welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang channel. Thanks for joining me once again. Today, I am going to share my review of Campaign Builder Castles and Crowns from Kobold Press. This is written by Wolfgang Bauer, Richard Green, Tim Hitchcock, and Brian Suskind. This 272-page hardcover is available now, carries an MSRP of $59.99, or you can grab just the PDF alone over at DriveThruRPG for $34.99. All that said, let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got Campaign Builder Castles and Crowns. A couple of things I want to mention before we get stuck in. First of all, my friends over at Kobold Press were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this review with you. These days, it's important you know that. And second, we're not going to take a look at each and every page of Castles and Crowns, but I do want to give you a good feel for what you're going to find inside this latest addition to the Campaign Builder series. All right, let's jump on in. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the credits page because there were quite a few people who worked very hard to bring this to fruition. So let's give some credit where credit is due. I'm also going to get a peek at the limited edition cover. So as far as Campaign Builder Castles and Crowns is concerned, I want to point out right away, this is not necessarily a random castle generating book. I recently did a review of a Castles and Crusades supplement that's out there where you can randomly roll up a castle and kind of populate it a bit. This is not that. And it's important that you know that because I'm sure some folks will see builder in the name and it's, oh, castles and crowns. So it's just a random castle generator. It is not. It is so much more than that. And the reality is, this is not the sort of book that's going to get into the details about, oh, 5 different sorts of ramparts and 4 different murder holes you can put in the walls. No, not at all. What the Campaign Builder series of books tends to look to do is to create interesting and inspiring aspects to your game world. So here with the Castles and Crowns, it's looking at creating kingdoms, regions, interesting NPCs, ruling families, and so forth. And it's all packed inside this book. There are new magic items, magic spells, there's a bestiary. We have a good amount of page space devoted to like courtly adventuring. Because if you're going to go through the trouble of creating a kingdom and giving the ruling families personalities and the movers and shakers personalities, aren't you going to have some adventuring going on in court? So I like the fact that we've got that also. We're going to start off with just a look at the various different ranks. Is a baron the same as a baronet? And so on and so forth. We start getting into various different heroes for different kinds of kingdoms and what you could be looking at devising there. Artwork throughout, solid, pretty uniform. There are a couple of pieces that kind of pop out. Suddenly I was like, wait a second, where'd that come from? But for the most part, I do like the artwork throughout Castles and Crowns. Normally, these sorts of books, we don't see a lot of action. We don't see a lot of battle scenes or anything like that. We normally see artwork like this, which focuses on a single character, which is fine. I don't have an issue with that. But it does have kind of a bestiary look to the artwork when we see these individuals, which is fine. I really love the fact that we get some new subclasses for the classes. That's important to keep in mind that Castles and Crowns is designed for the Tales of the Valiant role-playing game, which means that you can easily utilize this with the latest edition of Dungeons and Dragons, which I tend to call 5.5. Other people tend to call 2024. And obviously enough, you can use this with 5e D&D too. So have no worries about that. So, like I said, we've got a lot of various different information here. And one of the things that I find with the 2 campaign builder books that I have reviewed to this point is that these make for excellent inspiration generators, idea creators here. Now, granted, we've got a lot of random tables here for different things. I probably would not utilize the random tables as randomly as offered, but I would utilize them by picking and choosing different entries that I think would mesh well and that I would find to be very interesting. But here's the courtly intrigues sort of section. So, royal weddings, masquerades, tournaments, treaties. So I really like this section a lot because I think sometimes with some role playing games, we don't, especially high fantasy role playing games, we don't see that kind of focus on courtly adventures as maybe we should, because it is a whole genre in themselves as opposed to just the dungeon delving and wilderness adventures and so forth. We will get information about various different, I guess we'll say, strongholds. So we get a breakdown of a typical castle, what the different rooms of the castles may be, what purposes they serve. We also have random tables as far as creating a aspect of that room that's going to make it stand out, make it memorable, as opposed to, oh, it's a storage room. So I like that. We get into manor houses, we get into elven strongholds, or I should say, fey palaces, military strongholds, and so forth. So, a lot of great information packed in here. But if you are looking for a specific minutia about castles, manor houses, things like that, this is not going to be the sort of book you're looking for. Once again, as I mentioned, this is aimed at creating cool and interesting stuff for a game master, for a dungeon master to utilize. Like I said, we've got some magic items. So we've got some royal magic items. We had some new spells, some rituals. Then we start getting into actually creating a region and creating a kingdom and its peoples and certain standout aspects of that, which are going to make them memorable. Get into some of the kind of the finer details about these various different kingdoms. And then we're going to get some examples that you could easily incorporate into your fantasy world. Or if you happen to utilize Midgard, which is kind of the home setting for Kobold Press releases, you can certainly do that also. I happen to be a big fan of the Midgard setting. I have reviewed the core setting book for Midgard, really liked it a ton. So I do like the fact that we can easily incorporate these example regions, these example kingdoms into whatever game world you're looking to have. And we not only have the example kingdoms, but we also get more random tables for those kingdoms to make them more your own, to make them more unique. So here, as an example, we've got like the fairy ruler Quirks, always speaks in rhyme, has eyes that change color with their mood, is surprisingly humble, wears her blue or green hair in tall spikes. We have Fey lords and ladies. So a lot of cool information here. It's not all fluff. It's not all disposable. It, like I said, once again, it really makes for not only a fantastic resource for generating your kingdoms and regions and locales and NPCs, ruling families, and things like that. It also has a lot of ready to use content that you can jump right on in and include in your campaign setting too. So we'll get into the appendix. Like I said, we've got a little bit of a bestiary here with a few different monsters and NPCs, not a ton. And then we'll wrap up with some various different tables. So here we've got like naming tables, clothing, social interactions, and so forth. So, like I said, we'll wrap up with a bunch of random tables. And that is a look inside Campaign Builder Castles and Crowns from Kobold Press. Let's swing on over to the other camera because I'm going to share some final thoughts as well as my review score. Well, if you followed the Gaming Gang, you know for the most part, I always enjoy Kobold Press releases. Sure, on occasion, something comes up that just doesn't grab me. But for the most part, I'm usually very, very satisfied by what I see from Kobold Press. And that is going to be the case here. I really like Campaign Builder, Castles and Crowns. I love the fact that it's not just a generation toolkit. I love the fact that we do have that aspect to the book. Got loads of random tables, but it's not just I'm randomly generating a castle. I'm randomly generating a royal family or an attitude of the region or what have you. There's loads of content in here that has nothing to do with random generation. And I like that quite a lot. I love the fact that we've got loads and loads of examples of royal families and noble titles, and we've got monsters, we got magic items. That's not the sort of thing you usually see in a book that's devoted to, say, kingdoms. So I like that as well. It's important to keep in mind, and I mentioned this right off the bat, this is not the sort of book that you're going to just pick up and start rolling dice to randomly generate a manor house or a fey palace or a castle. It's not that sort of book. So if you are looking for something like that, this probably is not going to fit your needs. But if you're looking to flesh out all the other details about your Fey Palace, your manor house, your castle, this certainly is going to meet your needs. All in all, really do like Campaign Builder, Castles and Crowns. I highly recommend it if you are looking for inspiration for making some unique regions, unique kingdoms, understanding some dynamics of how kingdoms would work. I certainly think it is an excellent addition to your collection as a game master or dungeon master. So, on a scale of 0 to 10, I give Campaign Builder, Castles and Crowns a 9 out of 10. I think it's that good. I think it belongs in your collection. As a game master, as a player, absolutely not. But as a game master in a high fantasy role playing game setting, most definitely. All right, that is it for this time out. If you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell. It'll not only let you know when I share videos such as this review, it'll also inform you when my live stream, the Gaming Gang Dispatch, airs Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Central, right here on YouTube. And of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thank you very much for watching. And until I see you next time, I certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.